Greetings, this is Star Illumination. I'm doing a recording, which these days is kind of unusual. Normally these days all we ever do are the live shows on Sunday. It's Sunday night right now. It's very late. And there's all sorts of things going on which made me feel it's better that I don't do a live show tonight or do any readings. However, there are certain things going on up in the planets that are really important, so I thought I'd make a few notes about that. Okay? I'll probably break it up into several different videos because it's just too much otherwise. So let's get started. Let me go over here and I'm going to go to the ephemeris. Now the reason I'm pointing all this stuff out tonight is because I just recently did a private reading where a lot of material came up that normally I don't bring up during readings, but there's so much of it out there that it would affect the client, but I realized, well, it affects everybody. And in fact, that was pointed out to me in the notes from the client, and it made me feel like, well, you're absolutely right. I should do something about this. So I'm kind of scrambling to catch up here. So have a look at this. This is from June, okay? And we had some serious moments here in June when Saturn turned retrograde. We also had a serious moment when Pluto, during its retrograde cycle, reached the 0-degree mark. That is the cusp where Pluto is on the verge of Capricorn and the verge of Aquarius. And it's reversing, retrograding back into Capricorn, and that goes on for months. We've talked about this many times. Same thing with Saturn. It just started and it's going to go on for months. So if you can see these shaded areas here, that represents the retrogrades. And let's just follow these two charts here through June, July. You can see them right here. This one and this one. August, this one and this one. September, this one and this one. October, this one partially and this one still. November, this one just ends. Okay? Now, you probably noticed as I scroll through all that there's a whole bunch of other retrogrades piling up during this period. So it's like we're bookended. There's Saturn retrograding here, Pluto retrograding here, and in between and around we've got all sorts of other retrogrades coming and going. So overall, it's a huge, huge pile of retrograde energy. It's also 114 degrees here. It's really dangerous outside. I've been trying to work. I can't do it. I just black out. I feel very sick. So I've just had to stop. It's very frustrating. Okay, so on the 18th of June we had the new moon over there. And that was in Gemini. And now we're coming up. Right now, of course, we're in Cancer season. The sun is already in Cancer because we just flipped today into July. So notice what's happening here in July. Can you see that? The difference between this page and the last page? Well, we've got Venus coming retrograde and Neptune just flipped retrograde. So we got 3 weeks heads up for Venus going retrograde. And we've been living with the heads up for Neptune retrograde with several weeks, maybe a couple of months already. So I just want to mention a few things about this. Before I get into my opinions, I want to share a couple of notes here. This is what I shared with the client the other night. I was trying to explain the feeling of retrogrades, or if you could describe it in a chart. And you know how I like to make my astrodoodles? Okay. So that would be, the astrodoodle chart. But let's say that's the orbit of a planet. And we're going to put the Earth at the center of our life experience here. Of course, the sun is the real center of the solar system, but from our perspective and our astrology, we observe everything from the Earth. So let's take the planet Mercury, for example. Typically, it retrogrades 3 times a year. It's very, very highly predictable. And so, if you think of this as the direction of the orbit, the retrograde would look like this. Doopy-doopy-doo. Whoops, slow down. Reverse, oops, 3 weeks, up, go back again, and then carry on. Whoops, slow down. Go backwards and go ahead again. Oh, there we go. Whoops, slow down. Oh, back and forward again. Whoops. So you have 1, 2, and 3. That's typical Mercury, okay? So this is just a very loose diagram, and this is highly predictable. You just talk to any astronomer. So what happens is, let's have a look at this section here, because this is the build-up to the retrograde in terms of time. This is the retrograde itself in terms of time, and this is the post period after the retrograde. So the real retrograde itself with Mercury usually is about 3 weeks in terms of time. Okay, so it looks like this. If you think of this as a clock, Mercury takes about, what, a year or so to go around? Anyway, it's typically pretty close to the sun. But anyway, so this would be a, let's say the tip here is, Mercury, slow down, whoa, retrograde, 3 weeks, then forward again, roughly 3 weeks, and then back to where we started. So it's like the retrograde here is called stationary retrograde, this point here. And then it goes backwards, appears to go backwards for 3 weeks. And then it goes direct again, stationary direct, here, because it's going forward again, or appears to be going forward again. And this is where we started. So it's like this whole period here is the retrograde period. Okay, so I'm going to try and illustrate that a little bit better over here. Pre, during, and post. Forget those for a minute. Just don't look at all those things. So over here, the plan is just, so if you look at this thing here represents this thing here, sort of like that. So this is a 3-week period here as it starts to slow down. Then it looks like it's stopped completely in the heavens. And then it starts to look like it's going backwards. That's the retrograde. And then it slows down. Then it looks like, oh, it started to go forward again. Back to normal. So here to here, this is the retrograde period, but you've got pre, during, and post. It's almost like 3, 6, 9 weeks of time. So this would be full-on normal transit of Mercury, or any planet that's retrogrades. And then the pre, the during, and the post. So it's actually a very long, extended period of time, but the trouble spots where a lot of people feel the retrogrades are here and here, and of course during the process itself. Now the beautiful thing about retrogrades is actually they're like hidden gifts, because it's the time to review, rewire, revise, rehash, revisit, rejoice, reconnect with anything and everything that was either ignored or neglected or taken advantage of during the natural progress, because that would be full motion. That would be the equivalent of like driving on a highway with no obstacles. Okay, and then all of a sudden here, oh no, oh no, no, orange cones, orange cones, orange cones, no, 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 no. Now I have to go on a detour. Oh no, 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 no. Orange cones are released. Oh, thank God, now I can move forward, but the traffic's really jammed up. Oh, okay, now we're good to go again. So that happens 3 times a year with Mercury. So it's during these periods here, these retrograde periods, where we have those chances. Put the word re in front of all sorts of things. Reinvent, reimburse, reconfigure, rearrange, recalibrate, review, revise, all sorts of things like that. You can make up your own. So it's a good chance to fix things that aren't working properly regarding Mercury, for example, communications or general day-to-day commerce. Things like that. Where did we screw up? Communications. Remember Bill Clinton, he said, be really careful. You got to be real careful. You got to remember, like, you got to, what you say. Wait, let me see if I can do this. Who, what, when, why, where, how. You got to remember who you said it to. You got to be careful, like who you say it to, when you say it, where you say it, why you say it, who, what, when, why, where you say it, and how. Anyway, who, what, when, why, where, how you say it. Because if you don't do it right the first time, it can backfire on you really badly. And Bill Clinton had a lot of problems with that. A lot of stuff came out of his mouth that he regretted later on. Anyway, so I just wanted to give this little idea here. A lot of you know this stuff already, but for folks who don't know much more about it, I thought I'd mention it. And the reason this is so important is because we have an unusual period in astrological history coming up where we have a massive wall of multiple retrogrades coming and going simultaneously. So for anyone who understands this, imagine this multiplied many times and overlapping and overlaying on top of each other. So for example, let's go here. Well, let's start with July. Today is the 2nd. So we're already here. And you can see that Neptune already flipped. Now Neptune is way out there in the solar system, way far out there. So this period is very long, this period is very long, and this period is very long. Okay? Now Pluto is even longer because the Pluto orbit is Pluto's. Okay, let's just say this is the start point. For Mercury, this is about a year. Venus, it's a little bit more than a year. Mars, it's about 2.5 years. Jupiter, it's about 12 years. Saturn, it's about 29.5, 30 years or so. Uranus is, let's see, what was it? 14? Oh, I forgot. What's the orbit period for Uranus? Excuse me. Year. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, about 12, Saturn 29, Uranus 84, Neptune about 125, Pluto about 250. So there's a huge difference in the way the retrogrades play out for the different planets. And so let's have a look. I just want to show you here. For example, we've already started here in July. We've got 3 big heavy retrogrades, Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn. Soon we're going to have Venus. So that's 4 retrogrades simultaneously at the end of the month. Flip to August. Look at that. There they are. Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto simultaneously. And then Mercury goes retrograde. So by the end of August, you've got Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto, plus Uranus is flipping as well. That's almost unheard of. So in September, look at this. Just a massive wall of retrogrades, the big heavy ones. You probably just noticed that Venus goes direct again, so this path is now clear, but we still have Mercury retrograde, so we still have 6. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So there's actually a period here. It's mind-boggling. There's actually an overlap period here. If you look really carefully, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, at the end of August, and then in September, over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I'm kind of cheating because they don't really exactly overlap, but it's so close. And this is a real chaos point right here. But it's almost like having 7 planets retrograde at the same time. It's insane. Anyway, let me go back. So, okay, July. So the retrogrades are building up. They're building up. They're piling up. In September, they're really piling up. So this is like very, very heavy slow motion energy because we're dealing with the outer planets, the impersonal planets outside of Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, remember Saturn is the limit of the visual planets. You can see that from Earth. But here onwards, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, you can't see them. So in September, we'll talk about it in just a second. October. Look at that. Okay, we still have 5 retrograde. And then Pluto goes direct. So we've got a very long post period here until the end of the year and into 2024. But we still have 4 planets retrograde the whole of October. And it starts to ease off a little bit in November. As you can see, Saturn goes direct after most of the summer and autumn and half the winter. And then it's going to open up a little bit more. Neptune goes direct again. Then there's the 3rd Mercury retrograde. And Jupiter and Uranus are still retrograde. So that's just a lot of retrograde energy for the rest of the year. And it started building up already, but it's really piling on now here in July. And by the end of July, it's going to be really thick. So July, August, September, October, November, and easing off in December. Okay? So that's a lot of this going on. So it's like you have to apply the same concepts to each planet. So I just talked about Mercury retrograde. So what happens when, let's say Venus goes retrograde over here? So Venus is associated with love, relationships, harmony, beauty, balance, the law. Did I say money? Yeah. So all those things I talked about in forward motion, all those things would be experienced in a sort of, let's say, actively forward direction. But when Venus goes retrograde, anything and everything that can go wrong will go wrong with that particular theme. So, for example, looking right over here, Venus will be retrograde in Leo. So you might want to look, for example, this is just an example. I can't do everybody. I'm just using the examples here. For Venus, if you want to look, where is the 28, 27, 26 to 15? It's a long retrograde to 17. So it's a spread. The orb is about 12 to 15 degrees of Venus. So wherever you see that in your chart, how can I do that? So for example, look at your chart. Actually, you know what? Let me just do a very, very, very brief, quick astrodoodle here. Bear with me. I'm just trying to catch up with myself, frankly. I'm just trying to get all this out so that people have a reference point of some kind. Okay, this is just your basic TL astrodoodle, like I do on the live shows. Just bear with me. I should have thought of this in advance, right? If I was a really organized planner type of person. maybe. Sagittarius. We got Capricorn, of course. Sirius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. This is a TL astrodoodle. So, for example, Mercury, let's go to Venus here. Let's start here. Venus retrograde. So Venus is going to be retrograde in Leo from about 28 degrees. Okay, so Venus is over here right now. It's going to get up to here by July 23rd. In fact, I've already marked July 23rd as a very significant date. Why? Because of Venus retrograde, but also because we've got things going on here that affect the United States directly in terms of the degrees, with Sun in Cancer and Pluto in Capricorn. I'll come to that probably on another video. And the Sun flips into Leo over here. So let's talk about this point here, right over here, Venus in Leo at the high degrees. So we've been having Venus direct for quite some time now as it transits through Leo, but it's going to station over here, stall out, and then look like it's going to go backwards all the way to roughly here. And then back again all the way to here and pick up where it left off. So it's during this period here that the retrograde is going to happen. So if, let's say you have Leo really prominent in your chart, you might want to pay attention to this. Say it somewhere. I don't know. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be Sun, Moon, and Rising. You could have a whole stellium of planets that's nothing to do with Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay? And they could be in Leo. So check your chart, your own personal charts. If you have a lot of Leo energy somewhere, or even if you don't, put it this way, even if you don't have a lot of Leo aspects, this part of your chart will be affected anyway, wherever it lies, whichever house it lies, okay? Wherever it is, that will be the hot spot for Venus retrograde, all right? So you might want to do your homework. Do your own research. Or, of course, you can book a private reading. Da, da, da. All right, let's keep moving on while we're here. This is already active, of course. And it's been active for a little while from June. But let's go over here because we're really officially in July. Let's look at Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Okay? That's over here in the single degrees. So right now, over here, Saturn. I wonder if I should put these on here. No, I'm just going to leave it empty. Maybe I should. Okay, I'm just going to put Venus over here. All right, so that's the tricky spot. All right, I don't know if you can see that. All right, that's the tricky spot. That point in your chart, wherever it is. Let's see, Saturn in Pisces retrograde over here. And this is going to be the tricky spot. Over here. So where does that spot lie in your chart? It's like the singular, call it 7-8 degrees Pisces. Where is that point in your chart? Because that's where you're going to feel it. Especially if you are Pisces dominant. Okay? Could be anywhere. Again, do your own research. Alright? I'm just trying to help you guys understand yourselves and why things are the way they are. And maybe don't take it too personally. This could be very, very, very difficult, very challenging energy for some people. This could be very challenging too, but the farther we go out into the solar system, the more difficult it's going to be to carry the energy. Let's keep going. So in July, as you can see, in fact, let's take it right to the tip end. Can you see right here? That's where Neptune flipped retrograde right here. There's the like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of pre-Neptune. And here we are, Neptune retrograde up in the high degrees, like the 27 mark, So that's over here. So these are the trouble spots right here. Like the 20, so like the mid, let's call it the 25-degree mark. Let's call this the 7-degree mark. Let's call this the, I don't know, 13, 14-degree mark, something like that. It has a wide range. So where is this point in your chart? 25 degrees Neptune. Where is it? Because that's where things are going to be very challenging regarding Neptune energy. Okay, well, okay, let me go back to the Saturn vibes for a minute. So Saturn in Pisces is a very difficult energy to handle, and the way it's working on the globe right now is that hard lessons are being dealt towards people, institutions, authority figures, things or people that like to believe they're authority figures, like corporations, banks, leaders, presidents, people who are in charge, and discovering that their hidden weaknesses are being exposed. So I don't want to get too much into this, but I'm talking about a lot of the global elites are having a lot of problems right now because Saturn in Pisces is like testing them. How loving have you been? How pure and true to the universal laws of love have you been? And of course, at that level where those folks operate, there's been a lot of aberrations, and so they're being held accountable because Saturn, the energy of karma, will not let you get away with it. In other words, it's almost like having a leash. And in other words, anything and everything can go wrong. So if, let's say, you're a global leader and you've been practicing a lot of fraud, deception, betrayal, lies, theft, blackmail, extortion, anything to force your business agenda on the people below you, it's all going to come unraveled. And that's exactly what's happening on planet Earth right now. But it happens at the personal level as well. Okay, let's keep going. Where did I get to? Neptune. Yeah, okay. Neptune. So in some ways you want to take it even further, because with Neptune in Pisces, Neptune is in its home ground. Pisces is the Neptune sign. The 12th house is the Neptune house. This is the house of hidden enemies. This is the house of universal love. This is the house of divinity, spirit, divine creation, imagination, love in the purest sense, even the love of sacrifice. In other words, when being loving can be extremely difficult. Let's say you are a parent and you have a disabled child. It can be very hard for some parents to love their disabled child, and they would wish they had never had a kid, and so on and so on. It could be, let's say, again, you might be a relative or a sibling or something of someone who is a drug addict, or someone who's been really screwed up and messed up, and they don't know how to save themselves, and you witness them going deeper and deeper into a hole and it's chaos, perversion, loss, drugs, suicide, disease, illness, and you might be witnessing that. It might be happening to you, and it just gets worse when things go retrograde, because it all gets revealed, and then you can put a name to it. Oh, now I understand. Alcoholic, no wonder. Oh, sex abuse victim, no wonder. Explains everything. Oh, a liar, a thief. No wonder their whole life is turned upside down because they got caught. So like it could be anything. Some of the sickest. So that's all happening here in the 12th house. So again, with Neptune retrograde in Pisces, where is this spot? Because this is very, very hard energy to handle, understand, to even put words to it. How do you heal? You've got to reveal it to heal it. Sometimes it's so hard to reveal what needs to be healed, because this is also the 12th house, which also represents like the dumpster, the kitchen drawer, the sewage pit, the graveyard for people. And so other people don't want to go there. You don't even want to go there. Most people don't want to look in their kitchen drawer or their own dumpster, because that's exactly where they dumped all their stuff they don't want, consciously or unconsciously. So in some ways, this could have the energy, the vibes of like a sewage pit, or a really poorly maintained toilet or plumbing system, something like that. And so a lot of people, even if there is something very wrong and it's very obvious, they don't want to look at it, because it means having to do so much homework on oneself that you don't want to do it. I'd rather just keep pretending everything's okay. Oh, I'll just take more cocaine. Oh, I'll have 3 energy drinks today instead of 2. In fact, no, I'm going to double it. I'm going to do 4 just to keep going. No, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to borrow even more. I'm going to take out another credit card extension loan thingammy, where they pay off all your credit cards with another credit card type of thing. Oh, no problems. And this is also the kind of very negative energy that's coming out right now on a global scale, with all the pedophiles, the child sex trafficking on a global scale. I might have mentioned recently there's a movie coming out 4th of July. It's called Sound of Freedom, and it is a true story. It's about Tim Ballard, who has a global child rescue operation, and it's now coming. He's been doing it for years, but now it's a feature film, and it's coming out. You can get tickets to it. And also, of course, at the same time, is it a coincidence? Mel Gibson is releasing his 4-part documentary on child sex trafficking and pedophiles in Hollywood. Okay? You got to reveal it to heal it. So it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's beautiful. The retrogrades are perfect. There's nothing good or bad about retrogrades. It's just how we as human beings handle it. So to me, it's a beautiful thing. For the people who have, let's say, felt that they could get around the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, and indulge in, messing around with little kids, or cheating, stealing, lying, and betrayal and blackmail, and planting seeds of evil and destruction in terms of bugs and viruses and bacteria and mosquitoes all over the world, telling you how we're going to save the world, when in fact they're spreading poison and trying to kill you. All of that kind of stuff. Okay, it's all coming out, and more people are waking up. Well, let's keep going. We've already talked a lot about Pluto retrograde, but I think we should mention it again. That's over here, and it's on the cusp. And because the journey is so long and so slow, let's have a look. Sorry, so long and so slow. Okay, so you can see the orb of influence here is about 12 degrees. Over here it's about 3 to 4. Over here it's about 2. Over here it's maybe 2 degrees or so. So I can't really fit it in here, but Pluto is here, and it's retrograde right now. And the orb of influence is just a couple of degrees. Right now it's about 29 and a half. But over the rest of this year, it's going to creep back towards 28, maybe even a bit of 27. And that's going to be a point of critical mass for the United States, because the United States is born Pluto retrograde 27 and a half degrees, I believe, right there, which happens to oppose the Mercury over there in its birth chart. So this, it's very hard to understand it at the personal level, so it's almost like I don't even want to try. But this point lives in your chart somewhere. Let's call it 29 degrees Capricorn. That point is somewhere in your chart, okay? Somewhere. So that's where this energy will be expressing itself. It's so deep that it correlates to the soul and the most hidden, invisible, undetectable parts of the soul. So it's almost impossible to talk about it at the personal level. So we go to the macro level about the human experience of people across the world. And what this relates to is I've been talking about it for years, and I wrote that book about it, Wealth, Money, Finance, Global Restructuring, January 2020, and all of that. This Pluto retrograde here, from my perspective, my opinion, is exposing the unraveling of the global elites who are at a point of absolute desperation because their desire and plan to create a complete totalitarian operation that runs the whole of planet Earth from one point is kind of coming unraveled. And it's coming unraveled because for them to activate and energize and put their plans in motion, they have to become more and more and more visible to the masses, to we the people. And that's what's happening. And some people are realizing it and waking up and saying, wait a minute, this is demonic, satanic, evil stuff. We don't want that. So that's talking about the energy of revolution here, but that's another video. So anyway, over here, let's call this like the I call it 28 degree mark, somewhere around there. So right now, this is, you can think of all those things I've talked about many times. They have initials. I'll write some initials for you. You might recognize many of these. I'm just going to put them over here. IMHOBISIMF ECB FBI CIA CBDCs. I'm missing a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of them, but these are. Do you recognize any of these initials here? WEF, WHO, BIS, IMF, ECB, DOJ, FBI, CIA, CBDC. They lust. They are in a desperate lust for power and money and control. And their lust is so extreme that they're willing to do anything to satisfy that lust, including some of the despicable stuff that we talked about here. And of course, war, murder, mass murder, genocide, infanticide. It's just, there's no limit to the evil that they will stoop to in order to try to desperately hold on to their agenda. But that's on a global scale. Let's keep going. Okay. August. Where do we start? We already talked about Venus retrograde. So at the end of August, we got Uranus. Well, let's talk about Mercury retrograde. Actually, I talked about Mercury retrograde earlier. So let's move on to Uranus. As you can see here, Uranus in Taurus retrograde. Okay, all over here. So Uranus is over here right now, around this area, and it's going to stall out over here. So the orb of influence is over a few degrees here, roughly around the 23, 22, 22, 21, excuse me, to 20 to 19. So 22 to 19. Okay, 23 to 19. Okay, so it's a very narrow, it's 23 to 19. So it's a really narrow range. Okay, so at this point here, wherever this lies in your chart, think of the energy of Taurus. In other words, money, value, values, stuff, things, the stuff of life. Look at the actual planet where we live. Think of dirt, land, mountains, oceans, deserts, forests, rivers, all the physical substance of Earth. Think of all the animals and fish, trees, fruit, all the rich, beautiful substance of this amazing planet where we live. Think of all the abuse that is being perpetrated on our wonderful planet. And especially with human behavior, we're witnessing financial abuse, because the financial system is like the bloodstream of life for human people. Money moves here to there, from there to here. A lot of people put their money over here. These people here take it, and then they play with it, and they're very reluctant to give it back to you, except maybe in a drip feed. So there's going to be tremendous instability in the global financial system here. And that instability in the global financial system will have ripple effects through every other aspect of life, because pretty much every aspect of waking life has a component that translates into the currency of exchange between people. Some folks call it money, but it's really just a currency. Currency is the tokens of exchange. And it's going through the energy of revolution right now. Think of Uranus as the planet of revolution, upheaval, shock, scientific, amazing advancements. In terms of planet Earth itself, of course, we're going to see volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, drought, catastrophic shifts in all the stuff that you could call weather. And the reason it's so catastrophic to so many people now is because we have 8 billion people living on this place. And, let's see. Okay, here's an example. Las Vegas in 1900. The population was, guess what? 22 people. That's it. Here we are, 122 years later, and there's now 2.8 million people here. So that shows you how rapidly people can populate and expand when they feel like it. And so just imagine that all over Earth. So we have a lot of people living on this planet right now, to the point of almost saturation, to the point where there's a lot of people. It's very obvious that there's a pile. There's the people at the bottom of the pile, and there's the people at the top. The people at the very, very top are this many in number, just a tiny number, and the people way down here at the bottom, there's almost 8 billion. And the people at the top, they want it all. They want everything that they can get out of you, because as far as they're concerned, you're just a cow, you're just a pig, you're just a chicken or fish. You are there to be farmed by those people. And so when you connect these challenging energies, it's all about like global financial disruption in such a way that these folks can organize everything and run everything in a way that they suck the life energy out of you. And they're going to do it through a very advanced, globalized, new, probably like a globalized reserve currency that supersedes the United States dollar. And that's causing massive disruptions across the world in terms of world economies. Like, for example, with Europe, North America, massive financial disruptions. It's the same thing that happens with tectonic plates. You know the tectonic plates. There's a big one here. There's a big one here. There's a big one here. A big one here. I think there's a very big one here, and so on and so on. Those tectonic plates are under tremendous pressure right now. Remember the Turkey earthquakes over here? Massive and predicted. And I think the guy who predicted it was following Uranus, the transit Uranus. around the eclipses or something like that. I can't remember. We did a video about it. But anyway, those shifts in the tectonic plates are directly correlated to the shift in the movement of the planets and the gravitational pull that the planets exert on our little planet. And those same gravitational magnetic forces affect each one of us as individuals. And when they're aligned in certain ways, there are certain defined characteristics that become evident. And when this happens here, we're going to see it. We've already been seeing it for years. This is a 7-year cycle for Uranus. 7, 7, 7, 84. It's an 84-year cycle. But anyway, we're at the 2/3 of the way through Uranus and Taurus, and this is going to retrograde. So when this retrogrades, there's going to be, I would say, a lot more upheaval with planetary events like the volcanoes and earthquakes and so-called climate stuff. And there's going to be all sorts of stories and headlines coming out about it. Oh, the sun is going to implode. We're going to go supernova. Oh, no, it's all the cars putting out CO2. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, we have to create a political agenda around that storyline so we can suck money out of your wallet. Oh, no. Anyway, so wherever this point lies in your chart, there will be stress factors there. Let's keep going. Actually, we might have covered it all, haven't we? Let's have a look. Oh no, Jupiter. Oh, of course. So in November, well, it really starts. No, it starts in September. So Jupiter is over here in Taurus as well, around 15 mark, and it's going to retrograde all the way down to 5 by the end of the year. Jupiter is here, okay? Jupiter is also in the sign of Taurus here, and it's going to retrograde from there to there, okay? So this is another stress point right here. Ta-da! Jupiter in Taurus retrograde for roughly 3 months. So, what I feel is that all the financial shenanigans that are going to go on, that are going to be very destabilizing, disruptive, are going to be amplified. In other words, the good stuff will be awesome and the bad stuff will be horrific. So wherever this point lies in your chart, Jupiter, wherever this point lies in your chart, basically look for it. Taurus at about, let's just call it the 10-degree mark, okay? Because it covers all of that. Let's just call it Taurus 10-degree mark. There's going to be a lot of pressure here as well. So people who have a lot of Taurus in their chart, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. Same thing with Pisces people, okay? Actually, Jupiter in Taurus, I think, is kind of a wonderful energy because it's, to me, it feels harmonious and supportive of things that people really need to understand and learn about the world. Understand how amazing this planet is. It's just a staggering place. Like, however much we defile this planet, it's still amazingly beautiful, and it has amazing capacity to heal itself. Even if there's some kind of insane nuclear war over here, as you know, we already predicted months ago that the energy of World War III is going to become world headlines, and that's exactly what's happening. And so that relates to this here, it relates to Mars here, over here as well. So this is the front lines of the war over here for World War III, but it actually spreads over to here. And because it spreads over to here, it affects us over here. It affects us over here. So it's like everybody gets sucked into it because the planet is so interconnected financially that everywhere on Earth is going to feel it. Like in World War I and World War II, that was mostly here and bits and pieces here. And there were other wars as all the empires came and went over the thousands and thousands of years. But this is the first time where we're seeing a global war that's actually literally breaking out all over. Here, here. And because the tension is between here and here, this is the biggest tension of all, between here and here. Eventually it's going to manifest some way or other. Okay, there's little Taiwan over there. All right? So this is the flashpoint over here. And this is the other flashpoint over here. And this is the borderline where all the nukes and weapons are building up. It's all over here and around here. There's a lot of friction here and here, of course. So everybody gets sucked into it. Even Africa, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, they're all getting sucked into it. Mostly because of the way the financial system works. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Yeah. Yeah, there'll be another Mercury retrograde at the end of December. Or in December, so anyway. I just wanted to share this stuff with you because when I was with my client the other night, we talked about this in the very, very short term. And then I went through the charts like I did when I mentioned, so, by the way, you know, we've got Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, Venus, Mercury, Uranus, and all going retrograde over the rest of this year some way or other. So that's a lot of this stuff going on, okay? In other words, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. But that's the beauty. Those are the opportunities where we have a chance to grow by figure out what's not working. Then we have a chance to fix it. Yay! Alright, that's the little video I wanted to make. Let me sign out because I don't think I even signed in, did I? Oh, yes, sir. Did I say hello? Anyway, I'm going to make another video because we've got a very, very important new moon coming up. All right? And there's also another point, July 23rd, I believe it is. Anyway, I'm going to process this now and try to get it up and out to you as fast as I can, okay? Thank you very much. If you want to donate, please donate. Please donate. Let me see if I can do that. Hold on. Yeah. Go to Terra Illumination, click the donate page. It comes up with a payment processor. I forgot to do that. I forgot to say please subscribe, like, press the bell, and all of that stuff. Got to keep the channel alive and going. Thank you so much for listening. Love you guys. I'm going to say good night over here now. Take care. Remember, love thyself. I've got another video to make. I've got to do it on the North Node going into Aries. I just haven't had time. Okay, I'm just so consumed with stuff. I'm trying to find time to do these videos. Anyway, that's really, really important. So we will get to that. Toodaloo.